Gentlemen, it is time for Formula Fridays, and we are here at the Australian Grand Prix. It is Albert Park Circuit, and it is time to kick off the weekend here. We've had Tier 4 have their race here on Wednesday, but now it's time to kick off the weekend festivities, and we are here at Albert Park, just jumping in to our one-shot qualifying session to take us around a lap. Just gotta wait for the drivers to get their setups on, and we can kick things off. And once again, hello and welcome. I'm your host for this evening, Fallen Monkeys, normally joined by my co-commentator, partner in crime, ISRL Esports. But you'll see here Esports taking a bit of a different role, going to be racing on track. You just can't keep him away from the racetrack here. Wanted to partake, and we'll see how he's going to perform. So I will be keeping everybody company here at home, and we've already got the drivers hitting that ready up button, getting the timers set up, and we are here for one-shot qualifying. As here, let's see, who do we want to jump on board with? You know what? Rotation is right here, taking Formula Friday, so let's ride on board as he takes us through a lap here at Albert Park. One of our Tier 1 drivers coming through into turn 3, I believe. I don't know the turn numbers all that well. Seems to be taking it very well, up into the lead right now for this first lap. And, I'm excited to see how this is going to relay with the race. Only 15 drivers here on the grid, so for those who might be looking to maybe not having the best race, you don't really want to be retiring on track, because at least for race 1, the 25% race, you're going to get full points either way, so don't want to be having that retirement, losing out on those free points in the Drivers' Championship here for Formula Fridays, as rotation is still leading the way here through the end of Sector 2 and into Sector 3 right now. Only a few corners to go, and currently going a little bit faster than Sweet Crown 19 in second, with Sophion in third. So it's going to be an interesting lap with a corner to go. Probably one of the harder corners here to lose the back end if you're not careful. Handles it very well, as we would expect. And there we have it, your pole time by looking to be at least half a second here. Vapor Rotation showing a lot of pace, with only 8 drivers getting a time on the board. We see we're waiting on Izat Kush, who's currently not facing the right way. Seems to be struggling here for grip around Albert Park, but we'll just let him finish the lap and we can move on with the race, trying to DNF, but there we go. Gives up, retired from the session. We'll be starting in the middle of the pack, though, but definitely going out for style after not having the lap he was probably hoping for, as this, at least as far as the qualifying is concerned. But there we have it. Rotation starting on pole. Sweet Crown 19 on the front row of the grid alongside Josh 2 in third, Sophion in fourth, Mushroom rounding out the top 5. Asunic will be starting in 6th with Young Lights in 7th. Lots of disqualifications here with Plebs, Azen, Feral Fury, Carter, Knight, Lewis with no time on the board, and Dark and Izat Kush both with DSQ starting from the back of the grid. So it's going to be interesting here with Izat Kush. We know we've seen a lot of pace, taking this 25% race, going to be starting from the back of the grid. So we'll have to see how that's going to relay. But I'm sure if it's anything like any of the other races, it's going to be a strong showing for the driver rocking the Singapore flag here this time around. But here we go, getting ready to kick off the race, and it's going to be an exciting one. A 25% race here around Albert Park Circuit. Of course, afterwards we will have a reverse grid 5-lap sprint with for race 2, so it's going to be exciting, and we are just awaiting for the cue to go. Young Lights hitting that ready up button first, and the timer is starting. Hopefully the drivers have their strategies up and running here in time for the race to start. We shouldn't be having a formation lap here, so we'll just be jumping right into the 5 red lights to kick off the race in about 5 seconds or so now, just to just to give everybody a bit of a fill-in, and I'm excited for what this is going to be, kicking off the weekend, kicking off the race weekend here for ISRL, and we are already up to 4 lights, 5 red lights, waiting still, and we are now off to kick off the first of 2 races, and it seems to be a good start from rotation. Josh too having a really solid start, going up into second there on your screen, with Sweet Crown 19 losing a position, falling down into third. But we've got some battles, a yellow flag, excuse me, on the track. Let me get this track map up, and that's Plebs out very early on, and it looks as though Young Lights got caught up into this incident. Now we've got a battle here very close between Asunic, Feral Fury, and Aizen here. Aizen putting so much pressure. You can see going side by side with Feral Fury. They're going to leave some room, as I know they are very respectful of one another. They see very highly, and already you can see that. But look, already Izat Kush making such a big run from the back of the grid in that rainbow-colored car. Already up into 8th, but what's going on with Aizen here? Falling down the order, and that's Aizen down in 13th, and I think I see some end plate damage for his car, and that's Lewis going slow as well. Lewis having a bit of a moment as we're under virtual safety car, and that's Asunic out of the race on the first lap. The first victim of what I can only believe is turn 11 or turn 12, the very high left to right hand corner. And Asunic falling victim to that. I know, generally speaking, it's been a bit of a tough spot for him here on F1 2020. I know I've seen some incidents there in the past, but crucially, once again, falling victim to the very tricky corner that, I'll be honest, it is very high speed, and that outside curb, it is very easy to lose the car if you're not careful. And that right there shows exactly what can happen if you are not careful. You can hit that outside curb, lose the car, just feel it completely give out from under you. And before the race even truly began, we have 2 DNFs out of race 1. So we're down to 13 drivers here very early on, as, oh, we're not under VSC, we're actually under full safety car. Pardon me for that, as Asunic's incident did bring out the full safety car. So a bit of a break here in the action after only 1 lap, with Feral Fury leading the way out on the medium tires, with Knight in 2nd, Dark in 3rd, Carter in 4th on the soft tires, and Aizen here rounding out the top 5 equally on the soft tires. So you can see that predicted pit stop on your screen, predicting soft to mediums or soft to hards, but honestly, I feel most drivers are going to do soft to mediums, or of course, the other way around, medium to softs. Now, you can see here on lap 1, thanks to all the pit stops a lot of the drivers took, Night and Dark are the biggest movers upwards, up 10 and 11 positions respectively. And it looks as though Izat Kush and Sophion are exchanging positions there on the track under safety car. But the top 5 have opted to stay out. Everybody else decided to take a pit stop, get off of those tires, and put on a fresh set of boots, knowing that they can very easily go to the end. Only going to be 12 or 13 laps on those mediums, which are definitely doable here around Albert Park. And Sweet Crown 19, crucially, going into the pits and getting off the tires he was previously on and putting on what looks to be another set of soft tires, and already up to 2 stops for Sweet Crown 19, and will be coming all the way out in the back of the grid, and will have his work cut out for him on the restart. But thankfully, with the full safety car, we'll be able to catch back up to the back of the order, maybe get a little bit more heat in those tires as well, and make a strong push here to the end of the race. Now, if I slap on the tire detail, yeah, so just about everyone here is on the medium tires, other than Carter, Aizen, and, as mentioned, Sweet Crown 19, all on the, those 3 drivers, excuse me, are on the soft tires. So it's going to be interesting to see the jump that these soft tire runners are going to get. Now, I would have thought if you're Carter and Aizen, as much as you want track position, you are going to have to take a pit stop. So unless you're banking on maybe another safety car, you essentially allowed the everybody ahead to take that free pit stop, and as much as you do have track position, unless you trust your pace very much to allow for a strong runoff from the safety car restart, you might be in trouble once you do have to get off those soft tires. As here we go, starting lap 4, we will be back to racing as the safety car is coming in. Feral Fury does become the de facto safety car, will be leading the way, and probably going to be creating a bit of a gap here between himself and the safety car, allow it to go into the pits and before he truly wants to restart, so that he doesn't get caught up having to slow down once again, because that'll only cause more incidents than what we've seen. But now I'd like to see what the likes of Sweetcar 19 are going to do on those fresh soft tires, and even Carter and Aizen should, in theory, get the jump on the 3 drivers ahead with the quicker tire. But here we go. We're about to get the restart coming around the final corner. You can see Feral Fury picking up the pace here and getting a decent restart. But here we go. It looked as though already we're seeing a bit of a move from rotation, trying to get past Aizen here on this restart, but going a little bit deep, and that was Carter going a little bit deep, I believe, falling down the order and really struggling to have control of the car, and down into 8th and 9th position now, but battling it out with Sophion here, as you can see, going side by side, and that was practically 2x2 for these drivers. That was Izat Kush and Lewis going 2x2 here, but Sophion does get past Carter, and Izat Kush sees that opening down the inside there, and that's Lewis coming as well down the inside. So calamity for Carter here on the first race, as that was a very costly mistake on the restart there on the first turn. But now Aizen here putting a lot of pressure, but being pressured crucially by the likes of Josh too on those medium tires. So it looks as though staying out on those soft tires is not paying off too well, as he's practically being eaten up here from these drivers behind, as Izat Kush overtakes Sophion, and Sweet Crown 19 overtakes Lewis to go up into 10th after starting from the back of the grid. Now crucially, I didn't quite get to see what happened there, but Young Lights falling way down the order once again, down in 13th. I didn't quite get to see what happened with the incident, but has a long way to catch up. But here, starting lap 5, it looks as though we might get a bit of a breather now, as it is still Feral Fury leading the way under the safety car restart, with Knight in 2nd and Dark in 3rd. So not much movement here within the top 3. But here, as Young Lights retires in the pits out of race 1, here in the middle of the pack, this is where things are getting exciting. And what happened here? Aizen having a moment, going deep into turn 3, and he's falling all the way down the order, trying to get back on track, which allowed a lot of these faster drivers to get by, trying to defend from 2 drivers at once. That's Lewis, and it looked as though that was Lewis who did finally get by. But now the 2 drivers on the soft tires who stayed out are here at the back of the order, and now they're battling it out for the wooden straw. But I want to quickly take a moment, because we have nearly 3 wide of Izat Kush, Sweet Crown 19, and Sophion. But now they go single file here through this very fast chicane section here. But look at this, going side by side, Sweet Crown 19 and Izat Kush here. What a drive. There's a little bit of contact here. Oh my, what happened there? Big crash, as that's Izat Kush taking a lot of wing damage. Lewis getting involved as well, as they've fallen down the order. Crucially, Carter and Sophion did get away relatively cleanly, but it's all gone off here on lap 6, as we had a big accident there with cars battling it out for position, trying to work their way up the order here. But high risk involves high reward, and unfortunately it did not work out the way they were hoping, as that's an extra pit stop and a wing change for the likes of Izat Kush and ISRL Lewis. And maybe the stewards might want to be looking into that, depending on if they choose to report that incident. But back here, we have rotation now, catching up, putting a lot of pressure on Dark here, only 3/10 behind. And we might see a move here after this section, after the chicane, once we get into DRS, if we don't see it earlier, because look at the pace difference. Dark defending down the inside here, but no one can stop the machine that is Vapor Rotation, working his way back up into third, overtaking the likes of Dark like it's nothing, but Dark going very slow, and that's Josh too with the help of DRS, getting by very easily before that corner, so Dark losing out on 2 positions here. Sophion and Aizen battling a little bit further behind, and Aizen, I think, might need to get off of those soft tires as they're really not working out too well, as now that's Carter and Aizen going side by side. Aizen losing the back end there as practically bullied off the track by Carter, it looked like, as the overtake was getting done, and now that's Aizen down into 10th, so not having this race 1 of Formula Fridays he was hoping for here early on, as we are right around at the midway point of this first race, lap 7 out of 15, and still Feral Fury starting to run away a little bit. I mean, I wouldn't say run away, as it's only a 1.4 second gap to Knight, who's in second, but now with the rotation in third, showing he's got a lot of pace. You can see the 2 drivers in his front view there. That is Knight that he's trying to catch up with, and catching up at a rate of knots, and Josh too staying close behind, staying within that DRS, and looking to maybe use rotation to help tow him around the circuit. But now here we see Carter, right on board, putting some pressure on Sophion, so finally getting a bit of grip on those soft tires is Carter, and starting to find that pace, and trying to stay behind, but swerving a little bit, unable to make the move here on Sophion here with the help of DRS. And what's going on here, as we did have a driver who seemingly had a bit of a moment there on the chicane. I'm not too sure who that was, but here we see Knight and Feral Fury taking a pit stop, which does promote rotation up into the lead. Josh 2 now in second, Dark in third, staying out on those medium tires for at least 1 more lap, but will still need to take a pit stop, I believe. And Sweet Crown 19, after taking 2 pit stops under the safety car, down in fourth and putting a lot of pressure on Dark, albeit looks as though Dark is handling that pressure very well, at least for the time being. Both experienced drivers, both know how to handle under pressure. But now here we have Izat Kush overtaking the likes of Aizen, who's just now coming out, finishing his pit stop here, and will have his work cut out for him on those medium tires to catch right back up. Now Carter's still putting some pressure on Sophion. Sweet Crown 19 now getting very close to Dark, and you can see the pace difference of those tires as Sweet Crown 19 makes the move up into the podium position here, well before the right-hand corner, and Dark falling down into fourth, and really not much he could do about that, as the Sweet Crown machine is back at it here, back in full force, and now looking to close up that gap to Josh too, and make that push maybe for P2 as well as the possible podium. Now Carter is still staying out on those soft tires. They're 8 laps old now, so I'm thinking maybe at the end of this lap might be taking a pit stop, but seemingly he still appears to have some pace. Speaking of pace, Sophion thought about making a move on Mushroom, but just the window of opportunity completely closed on him, so has to settle behind the car of Mushroom and still see that car ahead rather than in his rear view mirrors behind. But I think it's only a matter of time before Sophion does get that overtake done. But still, kudos to Mushroom for doing a very good job defending here. But you can see how close in the braking zones he gets. But Mushroom just having a little bit of better acceleration out of the corners, at least for the time being. But now Sophion making an opening down the outside, doesn't close up enough, slows down a little bit to take the chicane here, but now does have DRS open, has Carter right behind, Mushroom ahead. Is the move going to get done? No, it's not going to get done, as Mushroom just has a bit of a better chicane than Sophion does, and Mushroom still in 5th with Sophion here in 6th. Now is Carter going to be taking a pit stop here? It looks as though he will finally be getting off those soft tires and putting on the mediums, so we'll see if that overcut is going to pay dividends for him and where he's going to come out. And oh my, Little bit of latency there for Mushroom, as it almost looked like there was going to be an incident, but it looked as though that did get itself resolved. But it's still Mushroom in 5th, Sophion here in 6th. And as the gaps have started to form ever so slightly here for a lot of these drivers, this is the battle I am watching here on lap 10 out of 15 between these two drivers here for P5. But I think it's only a matter of time before, for those watching at home who might want to see somebody else, will be able to see it, because the Sweet Crown 19 machine on these soft tires getting very close, catching up to Josh 2 here within DRS range, albeit only just, but DRS nonetheless here, as you can see that flap open and catching up at a rate of knots to the driver in 2nd place here, as they're all trying to keep up with the likes of Vapor Rotation, who is here in the lead. But who is that there? That is Lewis, who is an AI driver, or a ghosted driver, it looks like. I'm not too sure if he's still in control of the car, or if that is the AI who is controlling him. But hopefully that is still him in control, as Dark now finally getting off of the soft tires, putting on the mediums. Sophion still trying to get past Mushroom here, now battling for P4, but still has Mushroom ahead. But look at how quickly he's closing up now. Makes a move down the inside here. They're going to go side by side through the corner section, but it looks as though the outside turning into the inside here for Mushroom. They're still going side by side. What a drive from these two drivers, as who's going to get that position? It's now Sophion who gets the inside line, and they're still 2 by 2 now, approaching the next corner, and it looks as though Sophion should get the overtake done down the inside line here. But props to Mushroom for keeping his nose in there, and they're still going side by side for what feels like it's been the entirety of the lap thus far, and it's still, after all of that, Mushroom in 4th, Sophion in 5th. Sophion tried all he could to get that overtake done, but Mushroom just doing such a good job holding his line, keeping that traction, having trust in the car, trust in the setup, and handling that very well. And if I'm being honest, I think the NASCAR is probably paying dividends for Mushroom. Ooh, but there's a tank slapper there, so maybe the door to open for Sophion. But no, Mushroom just gets a much better pace. But as I was saying, maybe the NASCAR practice has helped out Mushroom in terms of driving side by side, as that is a lot of NASCAR, keeping that car steady with drivers alongside of you left and right. Oh no, I just got so excited I hit the complete wrong button. Apologies for that, but we are now back in business, back on the racetrack. But still, Sophion stuck behind Mushroom once again, and it looks as though here on lap 12 things have calmed down ever so slightly between this battle. But just as things have calmed down there, things have only started to pick up here for the for this battle here for P2. It is Sweet Crown 19 now 5/10 back from Josh 2. They are teammates here in the Division 1 championship. But of course, with Formula Fridays, you don't have teammates. It's just you and the car against the world, against the other drivers, and it's all to play for here for Race 1, as you will be scoring more points here on Race 1. But of course, the counter of that is that if you don't end up doing all that well for Race 1, or if you do get a very strong finish in Race 1, you start, if you finish in first, you start from the back of the grid for Race 2, so there is a little bit of that give and take. But for these drivers here in the top 3, I don't think it matters all that much. But Sweet Crown 19 letting a bit of a gap form up to a second now, so maybe managing a little bit more of his ERS. But crucially, Josh 2 has a lot of ERS to work with as well. But we are back here, this battle. Sophion finally getting the move done on Mushroom here on lap 15 when it mattered. And now Mushroom, as much as he wants to focus on the driver ahead, doesn't have too much ERS to work with, and is going to have to watch out for Feral Fury, who's on the very fast soft tires. Going to try to make a move down the inside here in this corner. There's contact. Feral Fury has a bit of a half spin, keeps it on track, crucially, But now all of that hard work to close up to Mushroom, all gone for naught, as this gap is now back to 1.6 seconds and allowed the other car of ISRL Knight to catch right back up, and now this gap between Knight and Feral Fury down to 0.6 of a second here, as the leaders are starting lap 14. These drivers on your screen now are just finishing lap 13, about getting ready to start their penultimate lap here of the race. But now Feral Fury doing a very good job after that half spin of just putting his head down and really making a push just to close right back up to Mushroom. And here with 2 laps to go, it's all to play for here for the points. As much as it's not a podium, there are still lots of points to get between 5th, 6th, and 7th. And with these 3 drivers trailing one another oh so closely the way they are, we might see some moves here before the end of the race, especially with the likes of Feral Fury and Knight getting a DRS. But we have a yellow flag here in Sector 2. What is going on here? As let's ride on board with Sophion, as I think that might have been the yes, I think that was the car of ISRL Lewis having a bit of a moment, but back on track, back here on circuit, and continuing onwards. But here, Feral Fury half a second behind on Mushroom on lap 14, closing up with the help of DRS, not using any ERS, probably saving that for the last lap, but just was not able to close enough here this time around to get that move done. And Mushroom, props to him, having such good traction on the exits of the corners. You can see these drivers getting oh so close, but Mushroom just with the traction able to go away. But this might change here, as you can see that light blinking. Mushroom was saving some ERS here, which allowed Feral Fury to get the move done fairly easily here on the start of lap 15. But here comes Mushroom thinking about making a move down the inside. Thinks a little bit better of it, as now Knight putting a lot of pressure to try to get that one last move in here on the final lap of race 1. Now, who's going to get which position here at the end of it? And of course, I haven't spoken much about it, but penalties will play a factor, as every single driver here on track, other than Carter, has taken at least a penalty here on race 1. So it might shake up the order, but here on track, look at Knight putting so much pressure right up behind in the gearbox, as Mushroom maybe not managing his ERS as much. What a bold move by ISRL Knight, as he does get the overtake done right through, going side by side on that very fast chicane there, and makes it work for him. But that was a very daring move, as Rotation takes the win of race 1. Josh Chu coming in second, Sweet Crown 19 crossing the line in style in third. Sophion coming here, crossing the line in fourth now, with Feral Fury rounding out the top 5. Knight in 6th, Mushroom crossing the line in 7th. Dark coming in 7th, knocking Mushroom down, trying to come through in style. Now here comes Carter. Will he move up a position? He does move up to 8th, as Mushroom falling down the order with these penalties. But 9th is going to be where he's going to stand, as Izat Kush comes in 10th. And Aizen not having the first race he was hoping for in that green and white custom car he's got on. Rounding out the last driver to finish, coming in 11th. But consolation points for Aizen, as he will be starting from the front row of the grid for race 2. And speaking of, for everybody watching at home, as this is the end of race 1, don't go anywhere. We're going to have race 2 coming in just a moment, as soon as we get the grid sorted out. Some of you probably already know the drill by now. We have this 25% race that we have just finished, just watched right here. And this is going to be followed by a 5-lap sprint. But first, we get to see the likes of Rotation do a little dance here on the top step of the podium, doing that Egyptian walk, celebrating with the trophy, celebrating the champagne with the likes of Josh 2 and Sweet Crown 19. We just cannot get away from that Michael Schumacher face on the podium, to the dismay of one of my other commentator colleagues here. But there we have it. Rotation taking the win from pole on race 1. Josh 2 coming in second with Sweet Crown 19 rounding out the last podium. We have a real German and a fake German on the podium here. Sophion here in 4th. Feral Fury rounding out the top 5 after qualifying in 10th. Knight in 6th. Dark in 7th. Carter coming in 8th. Mushroom in 9th after the falling down the order with penalties. And Azen rounding out the top 10. Izat Kush in 11th with Lewis here coming in 12th. 2 laps behind with the DNFs of Young Lights, Asunik, and Plevs in 13th, 14th, and 15th. But unfortunately for these last 3 drivers, because of the DNFs and the retirements, will not get the benefit of starting from the front row, or starting from the front of the order. Will be forced to start from the back nonetheless, as that is a rule here for Formula Fridays, that you do need to finish the race in order to benefit from that better starting position for race 2. But there we have it. That is race 1. Back into the lobby we go, and we will let Asunik get the order set up for race 2, and we will kick things off in just a moment here for the second race. So don't go anywhere, because we've got more racing action coming in just a moment. And I hope everybody watching at home enjoyed the first race as much as I did. We did have that early safety car that I'll be honest, slowed down the race a little bit, but it definitely picked up from there once we went back to green flag racing, and it got exciting, especially near the end, seeing a lot of moves, seeing a lot of overtakes, a little bit of controversy there on lap 6, for those watching who saw what happened. If you didn't see it, well, you can go rewatch the race afterwards. It'll be up there on YouTube, along with all of the other fantastic content we have here on ISRL Esports on our YouTube channel. But thank you so much, everyone, for tuning into race 1. Don't go anywhere. We've got race 2 coming in just a moment. Now, the talking points, the likes of Sweet Crown 19, Josh 2, Vapor Rotation, will all be starting from the back of the grid here, maybe getting a few extra positions from the drivers who have retired early on here or crashed out. But still, they're going to have only 5 laps to work their way up the grid, and they do still have some pretty fast drivers to overtake, one of which is going to be Izat Kush, who's going to benefit from a very solid starting position here for race 2. After not having the race 1 he was hoping for, getting caught up in that incident. So if those 3 drivers who kind of ran away with the podium in race 1 want to get that win, want to get on the podium, they are going to have their work cut out for them, as we know the pace Izat Kush can show. But even every other driver here on the grid, they've all got so much pace. It's going to be a challenge here to get those overtakes done. Of course, in the first 2 laps, you don't really have DRS to play with. It's only on lap 3 that it does activate. So it only really gives you 3 laps of DRS usage to try to close up that gap and promote the overtakes. The first 2, it's all going to be about pace. But if these previous 5-lap races have anything to say about what we can expect to be, keep an eye out on these drivers in the rear on the start of the race, because it seems as though the start will make or break these this second race for these drivers, because we've seen here in the past, over the first few corners, a lot of these fast drivers who start from the back seem to make up so many positions just right from the start of the race, when everybody is bunched up just on pure pace here, while everyone's caught up in the kerfuffle here. But of course, drivers are going to be more aggressive, making moves maybe where we don't see them all that much, because there's only 5 laps, and that does open the door for incidents, which of course your race won't be won in a corner, but your race can be lost in a corner. So you still have to be smart with your overtakes. Don't want to force something that 100% isn't there, or you might risk ruining your entire second race here. But we are just awaiting for the cue here to kick things off. Sunik has hit that ready up button, so he's good to go. And we just need all these other drivers to hit that ready up button so we can get this countdown started and jump into the second race here. And now I think the drivers have gotten the cue. We're up to 4 now. Only need a few more. 5 racers are ready. Just awaiting for the majority to hit that ready up button so we can kick things off, get things started here for race 2, and I can stop babbling onwards and we can get the second race started as soon as the drivers hit that ready up button, which I did see Asuna kind of flashing that, he's flashing this ready up button, but drivers just don't seem to want to ready up. But oh, here we go. Now it's off. So maybe a little bit of a hold on from the tier leader here, trying to get things sorted out. But now back up to 4. Are we going to get running soon? I sure hope so. As much as I like to sit here in the lobby, this is not what we're here to see. We're here to see some racing action, and there we go. The cue has finally been given. For real this time. The drivers are ready. The fans here at Albert Park are ready. I'm ready, and I hope everybody watching at home is ready as well, because this is going to be a good one, and we are going to kick things off in about 10 seconds now for race 2, the 5-lap sprint here at Albert Park Circuit, and we are getting ready in just a few moments now. Alrighty, and as we are just loading in here for race 2, and just awaiting for all the drivers to connect. For any drivers who have the stream open, I didn't give the announcement last week, but I do want to give it here this week. Don't forget your setups, because you're gonna have a bad time if you forget to put that setup on. As much as preset 3 maybe isn't the worst setup, the balanced setup, you're probably going to have a much better time if you do put on your own setup that you did all your practice with all week for. So just that friendly reminder, please put on your setups. As for the tire strategy, I'll be honest, we're going to be seeing soft tires here for the entirety, and already we've got some very early readies up for these drivers here. The likes of Izat Kush hitting that button first. And we will be kicking off the race to the 5 red lights in about 10 seconds now, as only a few drivers here, Carter, Knight, and Lewis, taking their time, waiting for the end here. And here we go. Strap in, everybody, because we are going to have a doozy here for the 5-lap sprint, up to 2 lights, 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 red lights, and we're off here for race 2, and what a race it's going to be. We're already seeing some moves done here at the start. Feral Fury moving up a position, Josh 2 and Sweetcrown battling here, and oh, what happened to Lewis? Well, Lewis getting a very solid start. Feral Fury not having the start he wanted, as he's falling way down the order there and took some wing damage. We almost saw 3 wide into this corner here, as drivers are battling for position, going 2 by 2 here. That's Sophion and Josh 2 battling it out for position early on, and these drivers are already up here in the mid-pack. Josh 2, Sweetcrown, and Sophion. Sophion getting the worst of all of that, but going into the gravel, coming back on track, and very unsafely makes contact. And what happened there? That was, I think that was Dark who got involved in that contact with Sophion coming back on track. I think Asunik maybe got involved as well. We're seeing some side-by-side action here with these overtakes, with these battles, as we got 4 cars oh so close here. This is Mushroom trying to fend off the likes of Josh 2. Josh 2 going around the outside, and gets a very lovely move done, and already up into 4th. Sweet Crown, oh, that got very close to touching tires there, and that could have ended very poorly. But look at this pressure that we're seeing from these fast drivers, already up near the top of the order here, and it's only the end of lap 1, starting lap 2. Sweet Crown and Mushroom going side by side. Rotation crucially having to go into the pits, and so does Dark having to take a pit stop here on lap 1 to get a wing change caught up into incidents. But that is Sweet Crown 19 getting the move done. But look at Mushroom making a lunge. There's a little bit of contact there, but Sweet Crown 19 not phased at all, pulling off the switchback and holds on to that P5, with now Aizen putting pressure on Mushroom. But we'll see. Ooh, Mushroom kind of bouncing around there with that internet, so Aizen gonna have to be careful when he's making that overtake to not risk a potential moment there, as we're seeing some time penalties fall. But that's Mushroom going deep and losing on not 1 but 2 positions to Aizen and Young Lights, as Young Lights up into 7th and Mushroom down into 8th, and going to have to deal with some dirt on those tires, maybe a loss of grip, a loss of tire temperature. But here back on track and looking to close right back up and get those moves done. Feral Fury does overtake Sophion here, down what would normally be a DRS straight, maybe not so much at this point here, but Feral Fury up into the last points paying position here, as the leaders have started lap 3, and it is Lewis, after getting a wonderful start, gets a fastest lap for his name in the lead, being pressured by Izat Kush, and Carter here rounding out the top 3, doing a very good job keeping it clean. Has some fast drivers here behind him, but it is much easier to defend than it is to try to overtake. So if Carter can manage his ERS, manage those tires, we know he's got the pace. He might be on for a very solid podium, and I'll be lying if I'm saying I'm not kind of cheering him on here for the podium. But I'm not going to say more than that, because I'm not looking at dropping the commentator's curse, as I'm oh so prone to doing here so far here in ISRL Season 4. So we'll be watching with anticipation for this battle. But here we've got some other battles on track to keep an eye out. We've got Feral Fury now putting some pressure on Asunik. Asunik did crash out early on here early on in race 1 through the corner we were just seeing them go through right then and there. But looks like he was able to make the necessary adjustments, and looks as though he's handling this very well. So on lap 4, here we see Josh 2 getting an overtake done with the help of DRS on Carter, but maybe that's a bit of a tactical move from Carter, as now he will be the one, if he can keep it within a second, to have DRS on Josh 2, and maybe take that position right back with the second DRS zone and hold on to that last podium position. But crucially, they've got a nice little gap to the likes of Sweet Crown 19, who maybe got caught battling a little bit some of these other drivers. But rotation out of the pits, setting a fastest lap here, so making a case here, but with 5 laps, it might just be more for bragging points, as in 13th and has 18 seconds to close up before he can potentially see another driver on track. So it just shows how costly these incidents are in this 5-lap sprint. But now Sweet Crown 19 taking a 2-second time penalty for multiple warnings. That's not really like the driver to be taking time penalties, but this track can be pretty prone for it. With Young Lights getting a move down the inside of Aizen, but Aizen keeping that car right there with them, as now it looks as though Young Lights does get that move finally solidified, but Aizen still keeping a nose in there. Props to him, but I think it's all for naught, as the opportunity has just closed. But maybe here with the help of DRS, might be able to take that move right back, as you can see there, putting the pressure there, but not able to get that overtake done with the first bite of the DRS cherry, but does get a second bite. But it looks as though the gap has grown ever so slightly, and that move is not going to happen, as we are already on the final lap, and we might have a battle here for the win between Lewis and Izat Kush, as this gap is down to under half a second. Lewis had such a good start off the line, held on to that P1 all through these 5 laps, and only has a few corners to go, a sector and a half before he can see that top step of the podium. But now Sunik, what's going on here? We've got a whole bunch of moves. Aizen and Young Lights going side by side here. This is going to be scary as they're coming through this section. They're still going side by side. And we've got 3 cars battling right behind of a Sunik, Mushroom, and Feral Fury here. I want to keep up. They're going 3 wide. 3 here into this corner. They do sort it out, but there's controversy as Feral Fury gets spun. As there's some contact there from one of the drivers. I'm not too sure who it was, but crucially, it is Izat Kush who takes the victory here from the first race. Josh 2 in second, and Carter does get the podium for a P3, with Lewis falling down to 4th after all is said and done, and Sweet Crown 19 rounding out the top 5. It all came off here at the end of the race, and we've got controversy here in race 2, as honestly, I don't know what happened with that incident, if it was maybe contact or if it was just a racing incident, but might be something the stewards are going to be looking at. But I gotta say now, props to Carter, getting that podium on race 2, keeping it cool, and probably knowing that he had it under control potentially with these penalties, seeing the drivers ahead, and gets to reap the rewards of a podium. Pop the champagne, celebrate the champagne. You are a podium sitter, Carter, here on Formula Fridays. But my oh my, what a race 2 that was. And like I say every week, I don't think we can expect anything less, as Josh 2 gets driver of the day there, as you can see, showing that number 1. But there we go. We've got the victor here. Doing a little twirl as he does is Izat Kush on that top step of the podium, or I guess as she does here with the avatar. But popping the champagne, enjoying the trophy of race 2, and probably very happy with that result after not having the first race he was probably hoping for was Izat Kush, but really making that statement on race 2, getting the win. But there we have it. Izat Kush, as mentioned, getting the win on race 2, with Josh 2 coming in second, and Carter rounding out the last step of the podium, with Lewis falling down to 4th on penalties, Sweet Crown 19 rounding out the top 5, Aizen in 6th, Young Lights in 7th, Mushroom in 8th, Sophion in 9th, and Asunik rounding out the top 10, scoring at least a point here in these Drivers' Championships, so showing he's got it here behind the wheel for Formula Fridays. He can do it all, ladies and gentlemen. He can race, he can calm, and there we go. Knight in 11th, Feral Fury in 12th, Rotation in 13th, and Dark in 14th after being caught up on those incidents. But there we have it. It's been a very exciting race here, very exciting time here for Formula Fridays. But that's just about going to do it here for us for this event in Formula Fridays. But don't be upset, because on Sunday we're going to have our 3 tiers taking their crack at Albert Park Circuit, their crack at the Australian Grand Prix. We have Tier 3 Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Tier 2 it's all Sunday. Division 3, Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Division 2, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And Division 1 at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. So make sure to tune in for tons more racing action. But for myself here at Formula Fridays, that'll do it for the stream. I've been Fallen Monkeys, saying thank you to everyone for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, and until Sunday, have yourselves a fantastic evening.